EACVI studios. Today we will talk with Professor Patrizio Lancellotti from Liège, Belgium. He is currently the president of the European Association Cardiovascular Imaging and is a chair of a new task force on the appropriate use criteria for cardiovascular imaging clinical practice. I am Danilo Neglia from Pisa, Italy. Welcome. So, why the ESCVI decided to set up this new task force?
First of all, thank you, Danilo. It's a great pleasure to speak about the task force. Maybe just to give you a little background, cardiovascular imaging is evolving rapidly, placing new demands on our professions for education, research, advocacy, and it is likely that the need for cardiovascular imaging will continue to increase over the next coming years. However, reliable statistics on the current practice of cardiovascular imaging in Europe are lacking, and establishing the current status of the use of cardiovascular imaging in Europe has thus become a matter of priority for our association. Secondly, current evidence indicates that a high percentage or a considerable one of medical imaging are not necessary or inappropriate, and it is estimated by the FDA that this percentage is around 30–50%. So there is a growing interest in the scientific community in the appropriate use criteria for cardiovascular imaging for the diagnosis and decision-making process. So, however, determining appropriateness criteria for individual imaging techniques could be difficult. But the task force has decided to set up, I would say, a large program, and that the mission of the task force in general is clearly to provide and summarize and present the main issues pertaining to the knowledge of the use of cardiovascular imaging in Europe.
And could you summarize the plans for the next few years?
The action plans could be divided at least in three parts. I would say that the first is a mapping of the use of cardiovascular imaging in Europe, and for that we have set up a questionnaire, so we carry out surveys with several questions about the use of imaging, about certification, endorsements of recommendations papers, and we have collected 42 replies from countries. And I have to mention that this gathering of data was really made thanks to the help of the national societies. And we will have the opportunity to present the highlight book, putting all this data together during the next EuroEGO meeting.
And who will be the members of the task force?
The members of the task force are well-known people in the field of cardiovascular imaging, those belonging to the associations, to the different sections of the associations, to the ESC, and also to the committee practice guidelines. So they are all people well informed about the evolution and the necessity about the appropriate use of cardiovascular imaging.
Okay. Thank you very much for this update. So we expect the results of the EACVI task force will impact on the future use of cardiovascular imaging in clinical practice in Europe. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.